Hi, Boudewijn. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. As everybody else in quarantine, but that's the way life is today.
Where do we find you today?
I'm in the Netherlands, and I have to admit that we're a bit lucky because our rules are a little bit softer than in other countries. We still are allowed out of the house to do the necessary groceries and even go out for a run. But other than that, a lot of the stores are closed. Hotels, bars, restaurants, everything is closed. Kids are at home, no schooling, and all the sports clubs, everything is closed.
How is the social side affecting you at this very moment?
Well, as I said, I'm mainly at home. Um, we have a family business, which is a health club and a hotel, and I'm also, as you know, assistant manager at PSV Football Club. And everything is closed. So we have to wait and see. Apparently, in a few weeks' time, we will probably start training again at PSV, but in very small groups, and obviously with 2 meter distance of each other, which obviously means that you can't train properly, but you can do some physical training.
Some of the matches in the Champions League, which were played in late February, early March, were described as biological bombs. The Atletico Madrid fans, they traveled to Liverpool, and then the Valencia fans, which mixed with the Atlanta. What's your view on that?
I think potentially everything uh, could have been a potential influence on the virus spreading. Um, but I'm not sure if we can blame anybody for this because the virus came and was a silent one. You cannot really see it. You still today cannot see it where it is. So I'm not sure if you could say that action should have been taken earlier. Because also they say, for example, in Holland that the virus arrived somewhere in February, but they don't know because it could have been already in January. And it's the same. They say that the virus came directly from China to Italy, but some say it came from Germany. That's the whole point. You don't know where it came from.
The Eredivisie was cancelled a few days back. What's your view on that?
It's a difficult decision, but I guess if we look at the rules that are instated today, it's impossible to play football. It's impossible to have fans in the stadium. The government says if we do play football without the fans will come to the cities, and then you have the problem in the cities. Of course, it's a very disappointed situation and a disappointing decision because you cannot make a decision that is in favor of everybody else. There's always losers in this situation, and I think the biggest issue as well is because we stopped the league now, we have to decide who plays in Europe next year and who is relegated or who's going up. It's a difficult decision that they've made, but I guess the only thing that we could actually do is make sure that we have a good start for next season because this season is as it is, it's gone.
What would be the case for the Dutch teams? Would they be playing friendly games? How will the situation be in the next couple of months?
The problem is that we don't know yet. It seems that we will start playing from the 1st of September. Normally, if you have a new season, you have 6 weeks of preseason. Now, in the special case, maybe it's going to be 8 weeks. But it still means that if you go back to the 1st of July to start training, what are you going to do from now until the 1st of July? You cannot have the players rested. They will have to train. So we don't have a clear answer yet, but most logically, they will train in small groups until the end of May, then maybe have 3 weeks off, then train for another 3 weeks, have maybe 1 week off, and then kick off for the next year.
Do you think that this will affect the national team for the Euro next year in some way?
If it does, I'm sure that it will affect all the other teams as well. I think we're all in the same situation. I do agree that some other countries have different rules. Maybe the Premier League will still be played. Maybe in France they will still play. We have Dutch players that play in the Premier League. Who knows? Maybe if they've had their holidays now and they will have to continue playing the end of this season plus the start of next season, which means they will not have the holidays later on. Maybe that will affect them in the end, coming 2021 June, July. Who knows? We've always said that the players need a rest. That's why also now in the Premier League there's a rest in December. But all of a sudden now everything has changed. It's a particular situation that we've never faced before in football. We've never faced this before in the world, I guess, that everything has come to a standstill.
Yesterday or a couple of days back, the manager of Cambuur in the second division in Holland, in the Netherlands, said that it was the biggest disgrace in Dutch sport history. What's your view on that?
Well, I understand. They are top of the league. They have a lot of points, and normally they would have promoted to the highest division. The problem is that, as I said, you cannot do it right for all the teams. Maybe most logically, we've discussed about the possibility of not relegating 2 teams, but adding 2 teams to the top flight. Instead of 18, go to 20. Because rightly so, also the teams that are in the bottom, they might have suggested that, okay, we're the last 2, but maybe with 9 games to go, we could have taken ourselves into a safe place. That's what I mean. It's choosing between bad decisions. Every decision you make is a bad one.
You've played for Liverpool and Chelsea and Sunderland, of course, in the Premier League. But what do you think should be the case for the Premier League?
Well, the problem with the Premier League and some other leagues is that there's a lot of money at stake, especially because of the TV rights. The games, the money is paid if the games are played. Now you can assume that if you make the figures for the season and you calculate that you have the money from the TV rights, and then coming towards this situation where you don't get the money that you've already spent, then there's a lot of teams that are in problem. I guess that's why they will try and still finish the season, because otherwise too many clubs will be in big trouble. In the Netherlands, there's not so much money at stake. Of course, there is still a lot of money at stake, but not as much as in some other leagues. And that's why maybe the decision is slightly easier to take. But also in the Netherlands, the clubs that are having difficulties, I think they will go to government and ask for some support.
You, as a former professional, you have a lot of former and current players in your contact list. What do you say to each other in this difficult period?
Well, I guess the same as everybody else is to stay safe first of all. The other part is, especially for the players, is try to keep fit. The problem is what you don't use, you lose, and you never know when the restart is. And as I said, I have friends in England and in France and in Spain, and they have to try to do their best to stay fit. But I'm sure that when we restart the season, well, not we, but yeah, also we, but later on, the main issue for a lot of players will be fitness and possibly the danger of injuries, because when they do restart, I guess they want to finish the season quicker, which means that maybe you'll have a game every 2 days, and that's going to be a different load than that they were used to for the last couple of weeks.
You, as a manager in the PSV, what do you say to the players? I mean, they must be having some struggles. You know, they must be struggling at this very moment, not being able to play every week.
Yeah, they have their problems. It's weird. That's why they also say that for the Dutch, that the league is sort of over, because the spirit is out of the competition. Also, for them, we had a lot of foreigners that in the beginning they stayed here, stayed in the Netherlands. But when the situation was clear that it was going to take longer, they were allowed to go back home and be close to the family. Because as you probably can imagine, that in these difficult times, it's also important to be close to family.
Do you think that it was the Netherlands teams are yet to play Austria and Ukraine in the same group for the Euros? What are your chances in this group?
Well, I think the Dutch of late are doing rather well. They've picked up their game, especially because the individual players have become better or more talented than in the last few years we've seen. You can see that because they play in the bigger competitions, in the bigger teams, and that will always push the team forward.
Like yourself, Bulgaria's best footballer, Hristo Stoichkov, played for Barcelona. What's your opinion of Hristo?
Well, you mentioned a player who's made a name for himself and for his country. He's done extremely well, obviously, for Barcelona. He was a big name when he played there, and as you say, I played there afterwards in a similar kind of position. And as I say, he's one of the characters in football that are amongst one of the best.
He had a special connection with Johan Cruyff. How much did you know about that? You know.
Well, I don't know exactly what the situation was, but I know that he played under Cruyff in the Barcelona era, and we also know that back then there were only 3 players allowed within the squad being foreigners, so it's a totally different time. But I guess that if Cruyff took him on, it's because he had a lot of faith in him.
Another Bulgarian striker which you faced in the Premier League was Dimitar Berbatov. What kind of a player was he?
He was a lethal kind of player. He could score goals for fun. Don't give him a chance because he would score. And he also made a name for himself in the Premier League, of course.
Talking about Barcelona, do you think that Frankie de Jong made the right decision to go to Barcelona at this very young age?
Well, I was young myself, and I think you always make a decision when you think the step is right to make it. And I guess that he's already shown brilliance of his game in Barcelona, but we also know in Barcelona, if you play one bad game, there's a lot of criticism, and then the next, if you play a good one, then all of a sudden you're a star again. I think he's level-headed. I think he's a calm guy, and I'm sure that he will do well.
We as football admirers, we love to watch the rivalries between the big teams, Barcelona, Real Madrid, AC Milan, Inter, PSV and Ajax, and of course Manchester United and Liverpool. But for you personally, which one was the biggest rivalry that you've played in?
I guess the 2 biggest, maybe you could say Barca Madrid, of course, El Clasico. But also in France, when you had Marseille against Paris Saint-Germain, that's also a big one. Yeah, in the end, I guess every derby game is special. And lucky enough, if you play for Chelsea, then obviously against Tottenham is a derby, against Arsenal is a derby, and at Liverpool when you play Everton, it's a derby. So there's always these are always special. You always enjoy the occasion.
As a football professional, how much did football take from your life?
Well, it took a lot, but it also gave me a lot. I can't complain.
Do you look back now and think maybe it wasn't the right decision to become a footballer? Or?
No, it was for me the best decision I've made, but it's also something that happened. I was 17, and of course I wanted to be the best, and then I got the opportunity to become a professional, and I took it with both hands, and I lived the dream. I played the dream for about 17 years, And what more can you wish for if you do something you like? I guess that's in life, that's the biggest thing. It doesn't matter what you do as long as you like what you do. And I was lucky enough to do something that I like. And of course, when you're younger and you try to reach the goal, you have to leave a lot of things that other kids do, with friends and maybe parties and all that other stuff. But if you like what you do, it doesn't take you any effort.
Do you still keep in touch with any of your former teammates, and which are the closest ones to you?
Well, I still have a few, of course, but also a lot of them you don't have too much contact. But when you see each other, it's like it was yesterday. You just pick up where you left. But I still have good contact. For example, Mario Melchot, Philip Coucou, Mikel Forsell, Finnish striker, Kaiska Mendieta, the Spanish guy, Luis Garcia, the Spanish guy. There's so many. I mean, I'm fortunate that I met some good people.
Many of the younger generation footballers would dream for a career like yours. You as a manager now, what do you tell them?
Well, it may sound easy, but first of all, make sure you enjoy what you do, because if you enjoy what you're doing, it doesn't really takes out a lot of energy, of effort, which also means if you enjoy yourself, you can put in a lot of hard work, because in the end, the hard work will pay off. So don't stop believing and keep dreaming.
If tomorrow they make a statue of you, what would you like to have written under your name?
A small statue. No, nothing. Just my name will do.
In your career, you've obviously played for these teams that we mentioned, but if you had to choose two as the best managers, which would they be?
It's really hard to choose one. As you say, I've been in the bigger teams with the bigger managers. I really enjoyed working, for example, with Rijkaard, but also in terms of preparation and getting yourself ready for the game. Maybe Louis van Gaal was into the details the most.
Can you share with us something from the kitchen, as they say, something from the changing room, a funny story or a moment that not many people have heard about?
Well, maybe back in the days there was a lot of humor in the dressing room. Lately it became a bit less, but when I was younger and I came through, for example, they had these when somebody had his birthday, they brought in these chocolate cakes. They were like it's like a chocolate bowl, like a mini bowl, but on the inside there was whipped cream.
Okay.
So then there was always one guy, an older guy. He took out the whipped cream and he put shaving cream inside, and then he put them all back, and then they were just sitting there to get changed, and I was always waiting, because when they came in, all the players, they took one, but obviously there's one with the shaving cream instead of the whipped cream. And then obviously when someone took it and had the bite, then that was so funny.
Did that happen to you?
Of course not.
Maybe you were the one who was making those.
I don't know.
It's a big debate nowadays between the two best players at the moment, which are Cristiano Ronaldo and Leo Messi. What's your view on that?
I even myself find it hard to compare. They are both players with extraordinary stats. I mean, they keep scoring, unbelievable. They keep playing at the highest level. The one thing that Cristiano has in favor for me is that he's played in different countries for different teams and still shown that he's the best. Messi obviously only played for one team, but also did it year after year. If you could then still choose, maybe for me Messi is just a little bit in front, but maybe just because of his maybe because his behavior or his way of playing. But as I say, how can you choose between two of the best in the world? It's really hard.
Would Messi make it into the Premier League?
Yeah, that's the whole question. That's why I don't know. I mean, that's what I mentioned before. Cristiano showed it everywhere. That's why maybe you could say that he's more complete.
Who was the best player that you faced, or who was a teammate of yours?
Well, as a teammate, I played with the greatest players. But when I was at PSV as a youngster, there was one guy who came from Brazil, was Ronaldo, the Brazilian, Nazario da Lima, and I considered him as a friend. We played together for 3 years, and he was really good guy and a phenomenal player. That's why I would choose him.
And my last question is,
yes, my last one. Let's go.
If you were not a football player, where would you have been today?
I think I would have. Maybe I would have taken over the business of my family, which is the health club, sports club.
That would be it?
Yeah.
Did you have any interest in other sports when you were younger?
Yeah, I did judo from my 4th until 18th. So I've got a black belt in judo. And I like to play all kinds of sports, even like tennis or sailing or water skiing, snowboarding, anything.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this interview.
You're welcome, Sebastian.
And